paranormal. It surrounds us. It's everywhere. Tonight, you will hear from the people who live and work within these highly active locations, all in the efforts to discover America's most haunted. With your host, ghost hunter and author, Dan Terry.
Good evening, boys and ghouls. I am Dan Terry, your ghost host with the most haunted. And we've got a really incredible guest tonight. It's a little off of the ghost topic, but right there with the UFOs, where I talk a lot about also. Lily Nova is a UFO and space photographer and a contactee. She's got her own psychic abilities. She has been in touch with some of these beings, and they've got messages that they want to get out, particularly about mankind. Her story has been on the Travel Channel. It's been covered by the Mirror and also Coast to Coast AM with George Noory. So she's well known. And I just want to bring her up and hear this story for myself. It's absolutely stunning. Lily,
Hi.
how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Dan.
Oh, I appreciate you coming in. I know it was short notice, but I saw your website and I thought this is just incredible. I had to check this out deeper.
Yeah, I'm excited to share about it.
Why don't you tell these folks what started all of this with you?
Yeah, so it really started around after COVID happened. After COVID happened, we're in the middle of lockdown. This is the beginning of COVID. I turned to the stars and I started taking pictures of the night sky. If you want to pull up like a few examples. Yep. So here's one of my photos. You can actually see the Pleiades star cluster up to the kind of like middle right above the telescope. But I just fell absolutely in love with the night sky. And everything was closed down. It was a weird time for the country, for the world. And I just spent every single night outside stargazing. So I began doing that, doing photography. And this is a photo of the Andromeda galaxy that I took, which is our closest neighbor. And you can actually see there's another small galaxy. It looks kind of like a smudge to the right of the Andromeda galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And I take these photos with my DSLR camera, and this was taken with a 300 millimeter lens. I've got a couple other ones if you want to pull up the Orion Nebula. Yep, that's the Orion Nebula in the Orion constellation. So I just became absolutely mesmerized by space and started spending every single night out there. And a couple months in, that's whenever I started seeing UFOs, and I had my first really close UFO contact experience.
Let me just jet back for a second, because I've been trying to take pictures like that for 12 years with my Canon. And how do you get such beautiful shots like that? That's amazing.
Well, you have to have a tracker. Have you heard of a star tracker before?
I have not.
Okay. Yeah, that's the trick. You have to it actually takes a lot of equipment and a lot of learning to be able to take those photos.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Earth is rotating. So then the stars are rotating. So in order to get a clear photo, you have to get something that aligns with the movement of the Earth and continuously takes photos. And then you stack all of those photos together afterwards. Mm-hmm. And at first they may look very faint, but as you stack them all together, the picture becomes more clear.
Oh, that's incredible. They're beautiful. They are stunning photos. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
And so what happened after that? You said you were taking these photos, and what happened?
Yeah, so I had my first UFO encounter. This was back in November, I think 2020, where I went outside. It was pretty late. I was going on an astrophotography trip the following day. It was about 1:40 a.m. and I was the only one awake. I went out, I spent a lot of really late nights out, with the stars. I stepped out on my front porch and just took a deep breath in and looked up at the stars like I always do. And then I instantly made eye contact with a hovering light above the neighborhood, just a hovering light. And I watched it for a minute and I was trying to figure out what it was. And I realized it wasn't a planet. It wasn't a plane. It was something else. It was weird, doing that kind of cliche hovering motion. And I realized, holy crap, I think this is a UFO. So I started recording it with my phone, and it just got really eerie and quiet. There was an blood orange light that appeared at the end of my street that drew my attention. So I looked over at that. Super weird, never seen it before. And then as I was looking back, a second craft had appeared, and this one was much closer. The second craft was only a few houses down. It was a large diamond shape craft. It looked like a dark metal, and I could see the red and blue-green lights going across, something that we don't have. And it moved up and down, side to side, very, very quickly to show me that this was something different. And then it started coming straight for me. And like I said, this is only a few houses down. So it starts coming straight for me. And then I start getting a little shaken up, and I take a step back, and it goes right above my head and then disappears. And so that's when I found out that aliens, ETs exist, and UFOs are real.
Yeah. Where did this happen, if I could ask?
This was in the middle of the suburbs. I live near St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
St. Peter's.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Been to the mall there several times.
Yeah.
So you saw this over, was there, or have you ever checked to see if there were UFO reports that night coming from there?
No, I didn't. But this was so close that at least the second one, I don't think anybody else would have been able to see it, because it
Okay.
was super late. And it was like houses down from me. So it was very, very personal and really late. I should have, but I didn't. I actually, after I started having a bunch of really close encounters after that, like it just started boom, 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 boom. I ended up contacting MUFON and reporting it eventually. But yeah, I was pretty shaken up.
I'll bet.
Yeah, very shaken up. And so I had to process that. And I started, like, I remember a friend had given me a book years and years prior talking about the Great Shift. And that popped in my head, and I was like, I need to go find this book, and hopefully it has something on UFOs, because I had no idea. And then I find it in the back of my closet, and I start reading through it and studying it. And lo and behold, it does talk about UFOs and how there's a shift happening on Earth. But that was my first contact experience. Nobody believed me. A couple months later is when I had my second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8th, 9th, 10th. I literally saw, I literally had 12 close encounters with UFOs in the span of 2 weeks. And that's when I realized, okay, there's something weird going on here.
You think?
Yeah.
So it was they were intentionally trying to contact you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I came to realize that, they wanted to communicate. They wanted to connect with me. But I'd like to share real quick the second UFO experience I had. I went to an astronomy park. It's a 24-hour astronomy park. I was up there by myself and shooting astrophotography again around 1:40, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was sitting in my car, and this is in the middle of winter. I think it was January. I had seen a weird light hovering over the horizon earlier that night. While I was sitting in my car, I look out, like I just get this feeling suddenly. And I look out the window, and there is a hovering light moving around like a bumblebee, going back and forth on the horizon. I turned the other direction. There's another one over there. I look behind me. There's 2 lights behind me. And then I look in front of me in this tree line, and there are lights in front of me, probably about 60 feet or so in front of me that were not there before. So suddenly, in an instant, I was surrounded by UFOs on all sides.
So they were tired of waiting for you to come to them, I guess. I'm taking a wild guess here.
Yeah. I think they gave me some time to integrate after my first encounter. And then they had to show up in a way that was so big, I could not ignore it. And to really prove that this was something else. So what I did, I was actually afraid to leave the park because I was in my car. I didn't have the lights on. I didn't know at the time if these UFOs knew that I was there.
Mhm.
So I just stayed put and I started recording them with my phone and my camera, and I recorded them literally all night, watching their strange behavior, recording them. I got tons of footage. And if you want to pull up the light beam one,
Yes, the one on the with the green screen next to it?
nope, not that one.
Okay.
The black one, and then it's like two hovering, it's vertical.
Okay, hold on, I'm trying to find it.
It's a video.
Oh, the video, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this one.
Yep. Okay.
That one kills me. That's
Yeah. So you'll see that was the craft that was in front of me. And if you want to play that again, a light
yes.
beam comes out of this craft.
So let me ask you this. Is there 4 craft there, or is one got 3 lights on it?
You know, I couldn't really tell. I really couldn't tell because it was so dark. I think it was potentially more than one, or it was a big kind of like saucer looking one.
Okay. Let me try that again because that just stuns me. This is awesome. What do you think that light going into the other one was?
I think they were just showing off for me, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, this was about, I don't know, give or take like 60, maybe a little bit more feet in front of me behind a very, very thin tree line, just a few trees.
Mhm.
And I saw this bright light. They did it a couple times. And then whenever I reviewed the footage, I was like, what was that? Of course, I was afraid to get out of my car. But whenever I reviewed the footage and brightened it up a little bit, I was like, holy crap, that was literally a beam of light. And I honestly do feel like they wanted, I know, they wanted me to record them to show proof to the world, to show that they exist. Because right after that, the UFOs were in the COVID bill, and suddenly they started talking about UFOs in the news. So I know, and they kept jumping in front of my camera. They wanted me to record them. Yeah.
So this all happened just before the Navy Tic Tacs and all of that started making the big news.
Yeah, exactly.
So you think they knew this was coming and wanted you on the forefront?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Let me, because I just love this video. It's incredible. The way that beam comes out and goes right at the other one and then pulls. That's, wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, so you were in the park looking at all this. What happened after that?
I watched them for a while. There was another video, I didn't send it to you, but at one point in the field next to me, very close to me, these 3 and then 5 orbs got together, and they were like hovering around in this field next to me. They started acting very bizarre. But once the sun started to come up and I started to see other cars driving down the road, then I felt comfortable enough. I was trying to wait them out. I figured that they would eventually leave, but they stayed there until finally the sun started coming up, and I was like, all right, I'm leaving. There's other cars out, so I feel comfortable leaving. So I left, and then I saw them the next night. I went up there again because I was curious to see if they would show up. I didn't send you this video, but I got other two craft were going back and forth on the horizon. I saw them the third night outside of my house. And after that, they were just popping up everywhere. So then I realized that they were trying to tell me something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you get some kind of communication other than this?
It started kind of coming as a feeling. So there was one night I remember, and it became very intuitive too. Now I know they communicate through telepathy. And there was one night I went outside walking, and I looked up at the stars, and I was like, I don't know if you can hear me, but why are you popping up everywhere? What are you trying to tell me? Do you want me to show people this footage? This is before I went public. And then I was sitting in my desk in my room talking to them again, not sure if they could hear me at the time. And I asked, like, what are you trying to tell me? And then this postcard that I had hung up on my wall literally flew at my feet, randomly flew at my feet. And it was the picture, the famous painting where they're touching their fingers.
Yeah. God and Adam are touching. Right.
Yeah. And so I realized in that moment that they wanted to make contact. That was the point of all this. Yeah. They wanted to make contact and
let me throw one out just to clarify it in my mind. Are these spiritual beings as well? Or are they alien, or is there a difference? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. So I ended up shortly, a little while after that, I did end up seeing my first one. And these are extraterrestrials, but they are also spiritual beings. So they actually, and they were easing me into this as a process. Once I learned that I can communicate with them, I can make contact with them, I can call on them, and they will come. And I got to actually begin seeing what these beings looked like. They started teaching me about they started teaching me about spirituality, and I was very shocked that extraterrestrials were teaching me about spirituality. They taught me that time is an illusion, and the past, present, and future are all happening at once. They taught me deeper about how we're all spiritual beings and we're having this human experience. And then eventually they taught me what starseed was, and that I was a starseed, which is a soul who is incarnated on Earth, but they are not originally from Earth. They've lived life on other planets. So I discovered that I was essentially an extraterrestrial from another planet, and that these beings were my star family. They told me that they knew me for a very, very long time.
There's a lot to digest on this one, and I want you to guide us through it. So they are not angels, but they are spiritual beings.
Yeah.
And was you a religious person before this happened?
No, I was not religious. I was really interested in the philosophies of Buddhism, but I wasn't religious. And actually, after I started seeing these beings and my psychic abilities began to turn online, I actually began seeing angels, and I've seen Jesus a few times as well. So
again, I'm trying to put this into my own limited vocabulary. Jesus was sent from God, but he was a human.
Yeah.
You were here for whatever reason by aliens, or was this
It's all connected. It's all connected.
What I'm guessing at here is, we hear stories of little kids saying, I chose this family, reincarnation type thing. Did you choose to be a human on this round, or was it just something that happened?
No, yeah, definitely. It was all very intentional. And yeah, I began to discover that, we planned for this, and this is my role or my mission in this lifetime, is to help spread awareness, help people to make contact, and educate people and ease people, help to be the bridge between the stars and the earth, because it's coming. One day we will be a part of a galactic civilization.
Well, the day we're filming this, there is rumors that this is going to be a jihad day, and there's going to be problems all over the world. But you're saying they're here to help us through all this, right?
Yes.
And you're the vanguard for this, you and others.
Yeah, one of them. And you'll start to see a lot of people are starting to wake up to this. And a lot of people are starting to remember that they have a part in this also, just like you have a part in this, hosting your podcast and sharing your experiences. They showed me we each have a piece to the puzzle, and we all need to put our pieces of the puzzle together.
So the demonology, the hauntings, Satan's triangle, cryptids, now starseed, all of this is related somehow.
Well, it's all real. Yeah. There's, and I discovered that after, the whole ghost hunting thing. I used to be very fascinated by that, and I used to watch that stuff. And now I have had encounters with negative entities, spiritual entities. My dad, who has passed away, it's his birthday today. He started, he's on
I hope I'm not dredging up bad memories here.
No, it's fine. He's visited me before. So there's different dimensions and different planes of existence. So the extraterrestrials, most of them, they're in other dimensions, but they can kind of it's all frequency based. They can lower their frequency and become visible to us. They can pop into our dimension, just like ghosts are in another dimension. I believe they're in the fourth dimension, but our worlds can mingle.
Okay.
So it's all out there. There's just many different types of being spiritual and extraterrestrial.
Mm-hmm.
Angels, Jesus.
What are they? What is angels and Jesus compared to the people you're dealing with?
So the difference is that angels they're very, very high, very, very close to source. They're very high vibrational. Usually I see them as beings of light. So they're very, very high up. And the difference between them and extraterrestrials is they have not incarnated on Earth as like a humanoid being or just on another planet. They're in a different dimension. I don't believe they don't experience time like we do. They don't need food. So they're just a totally different type of being. So that's the difference. They eat extraterrestrials, they're incarnating and they're, they eat and they
Okay.
do.
So the folks you deal with, I don't exactly know what to call them, so I'll stick with folks. They are not humans, but they're not angelic or demonic either.
Correct.
They are just like us, but a little more advanced.
Yes. Yep.
And do they follow the same basics of religion that we have, Christians and Muslims and Buddhists and all of that?
So they don't have religion.
Okay.
They're more advanced in their consciousness is more expanded, and I think Earth might be the only place or one of the few places where you forget where you come from whenever you're born here. You forget who you are. We go through a veil of forgetfulness, and that's part of the game here is that we're starting to remember who we are. But these extraterrestrials, I believe they incarnate and they know who they are. They know who they've been. They know that there's this life force. There may be different types of extraterrestrials depending on, they may have different cultures where they do have some differences in how they view or how they do it. But I think a majority of them are very advanced and they know that we're all one. That's one of the biggest things. We're all one. So we're one with God. We're a piece of God.
Okay. To throw it out, because I'm curious, guys like Sergeant Clifford Stone, who is with the military, and some of them are claiming there are evil aliens that want us injured, down, us, whatever. Is that in this plan also, or is this a misunderstanding?
I believe that the human race has already been manipulated by negative extraterrestrials.
There are some then.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And they're way fewer than the benevolent one. There's tons of benevolent extraterrestrials who are now stepping in. But this goes back ages. I think the creation of humanity, in bad may not be the right word, service to self. They serve themselves. So they would be doing they have their own agenda, maybe. And do not have our best interests in mind. But that's what we're getting out of right now with these benevolent ETs and starting to awaken and expose all of the corruption on the planet right now. So I do believe that negative ETs have had an impact on the corruption on Earth. So that's part of what has happened on Earth. And now the benevolent ETs are stepping in and helping us to kind of clean all of that up.
And will this start all at once? Will there be a great switch turning on that makes people understand what's going on here?
It's a process, and it's definitely happening, especially like COVID was a big jump for that. And I believe it's going to get more intense as we go. And I believe over the next few years, we'll be in a totally, totally different place.
Oh, I hope you're right. Yeah. I really hope you're right, because it's problems right now. So
yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, Lily, if you'll hold on just a minute, I'm going to drop you down. We're going to pay a bill or two, and then I'll bring you right back up in a moment.
Okay.
Well, friends, you're hearing it. I'm hearing it. It's intriguing because it does blend in with many of the other things we've heard from, well, like I said, from Clifford Stone, from some of the guys in Dulce, that there were good and bad, and the bad were kind of in control at the moment. I don't know. There's so much to take in here. I'm going to have to think about it for a minute. And honestly, while I'm thinking about it, how about you check this out? And we'll be back in a moment. All right, friends, I, for one, can't wait to get back into this one because I am drawing parallels to all the other guests I've had, to the other folks I've talked to. I've brought up before how it seems like where there's a lot of cryptid sightings, there's UFO sightings. When the Mothman was hitting Point Pleasant, there was Men in Black, there was lights in the sky, there was paranormal activity in people's homes. And it's the same thing with Skinwalker Ranch and the Bradshaw Ranch. So I'm trying to calculate it all out, and she's helping me to kind of figure out what's going on. So let's get back to Lily Nova and see what else is going on. Like I said, did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. And I want to add something to that. I have seen Sasquatch as well.
Okay.
Since all of this.
Your area, would that still be Momo?
Actually, at the Journey to Truth conference in Grafton, Illinois, right on the river, essentially by St. Louis. I've seen a Sasquatch clan there, in Arkansas near the Crystal Mines, and in Sedona, Arizona.
Wow. So you're agreeing that all of these are related between what you're dealing with, the aliens or beings, the cryptids, ghosts, demonic activity. Is this all related somehow?
Yeah, I do believe so. And once you begin to open up your psychic senses and begin to perceive these other dimensions, that's whenever I started coming across these other things too, and realized, oh my God, it's all real. It's very frequency based. So like Nikola Tesla says, if you want to understand the universe, think of terms of energy, frequency, and he said one other thing I can't remember at the moment, but these are all at the finest level. We're all frequencies, and there's many different dimensions. So you have in the benevolent beings are of a higher frequency, but then there's a whole spectrum. So that's how you got the negative entities and all of that. But I wanted to add, I do believe that the government has been messing with this for a while, since Roswell. And I do believe that some of the cryptid sightings are probably because of the government. They have a lot of deep underground bases where they experiment and test. And I've discovered this over the past year. And in those areas where these bases are, there's higher activity of cryptids, even UFOs. So they may be opening portals. They may be they're just messing with things, bringing things in from other dimensions. So I do see that happening as well.
Okay, there was a fort on the coast of, I believe, New York or New Jersey that they said was part of a time travel experiment. So that would be such a thing as that.
Yeah.
And then Dulce Base and Roswell and Area 51 and whatever else is going on in the world.
Yeah.
Are all countries working on this sort of thing? Is this I guess the question would be, are the non-benevolent ones working with others aside from the US to do this?
I think they definitely could be. It may not be open. So some of these negative beings, they can manipulate, and not to freak people out, but they can kind of manipulate people without them even realizing that they're being manipulated.
Okay.
But this goes back to Eisenhower. President Eisenhower. Um, with him, apparently he made signed a contract with these other beings in exchange. He was forced into it by Majestic 12 and all of that. I've discovered that this is true.
Okay.
And these other beings contacted them and offered them technology if they would sign a contract to do some other things. And then ever since then, you have these secret projects and experimentations, time travel, all of that started in the 40s, I believe, around the time of Roswell. So, and at that time, they were working with these negative beings, or at least agreed on to make some terms and some contracts with them. So now we're coming in, the benevolent beings are coming in and helping us work through that and get past that.
And what's it going to take for that? Are these people vicious enough to launch a war over this?
So the ETs told me that there will not be any nukes. There could, between humans, no, like atomic. If you're talking about between humans, there won't be a war with ETs. Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not. So the only reason why these negative beings were able to manipulate us is because our government at the time gave consent. They made an agreement that, okay, you guys can take some people and do these things. So that's my understanding of it. But once we awaken and awaken to who we are and realize what's been going on, realize the corruption, we stand and we say no. And then that is our free will, because we live in a reality of free will. So then it can't happen any longer. We basically just have to stand up for ourselves.
So Ukraine, for instance, Taiwan, is this all manipulated games by these aliens, or is this basic human greed?
No, I think that's more basic human greed. I think it started off as a manipulation between these negative ETs, and then it expanded, and it's just made humans, a lot of them, very greedy.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my understanding of it. The corrupt ones, we need to get the corrupt ones out.
The corrupt humans.
Yes.
Okay. That may be easier said than done, but I think I can see them for the most part.
Yeah, well, it's starting to happen. It's people are starting to, it looks really messy. All of these things, or a lot of these things, have been going on for a long time. We just were not aware of it. We didn't know. They've been testing, the government has been testing on people in doing illegal experiments, just like with the LCD and mind control programming, all of these things for a long time. Operation
MK Ultra, and some of those were all, they were all government plans, but was they being manipulated behind it, or was that just humans being humans?
I think they were a select small few agreed to work with some of these negative beings. So I think a majority of it is human, but it was sparked by negative ETs, is what I think.
So this would almost come up to the apple, temptation.
Yeah.
It's very similar in that to a biblical story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And control. That's the main thing. So we just got to break through.
I can't deny it, control, but is it the aliens controlling us, or us trying to control other humans?
It's mostly us trying to control other humans. Yeah, okay. I believe it sparked. We got the ideas from negative beings, and then we just ran with it.
Okay.
So there is, talking about the benevolent beings, there is a large federation of benevolent beings. And they're watching Earth right now. And basically, it goes back to our free will. We have to want to get rid of all the corruption, but we have to become aware of it, because we weren't aware of it before. Now we're becoming aware of it, and they're going to help us clean it all up. But a majority of the beings out there are very benevolent. I've had wonderful, amazing experiences with them. I've just seen visions through meditation. Okay. They've shown me some of the negative stuff that happened behind the curtains and what has happened in our history. But this is a really, but this is a big turning point for us.
Okay. Can you give me an example of the history that has been manipulated?
Yeah. So this goes back to well, in our more recent history, the ancient Egyptian pyramids were definitely built using advanced technology.
Okay.
Extraterrestrials were there, and you can see depictions of these beings in the artwork.
Mhm.
So all over the place. Yeah, have you heard of Kokia mounds?
Yes, of course. Yes.
So I live probably about like 40 minutes away from Kokia mounds,
Okay.
30, 40 minutes. And they showed me visions, the benevolent ETs. They showed me visions of them there with the Native Americans many, many years ago, teaching them how to farm, agriculture, how to build these mounds, and just teaching them how to create a big civilization. So Kokia
Okay.
Mounds is the most ancient and largest city in the whole continent of North America.
Mhm.
So that's an example of extraterrestrials kind of like giving out a hand to help us, teaching us, how to do agriculture, they probably taught us how to do fire, all of those things. Going back before that, I've also seen Atlantis. So there's been a reset basically on the planet. We're not the
Okay.
first civilization on the planet. And what happened with Atlantis is similar to what's happening right now. Basically, greed got
Mhm.
in. Atlantis was more focused on technology and greed than they were on their spirituality. They lost their spiritual essence. They lost that feminine energy. They were very masculine and
Mhm.
wanted to conquer. So that basically brought the destruction, and civilization had to start all over again.
Was the destruction caused by them or did the aliens do it?
That's a good question. I'm not
Okay.
100% sure. There could have also been a pole shift involved, because I have seen there were massive floods and massive tsunamis. And I know
Okay.
I do a lot of sessions with people who actually have memories and dreams of that, who were
Mhm.
there at the time.
Okay. Is that part of the talents of you as being from starseed or however you want to word it?
What was that?
Is that one of the talents you have, is to talk to people and learn, see what's going on?
Yeah. So after the ETs, the benevolent ETs, my star family, they started teaching me how to activate these different gifts and abilities. They started teaching me how to meditate. And they actually taught me about working with the chakras, the energy centers, your third eye, your throat, your heart, and opening these energy centers and activating, as well as activating our DNA. This might be a little bit advanced, but the ETs showed me one of the biggest messages when communication began with them. As I'm seeing all these UFOs, they started showing me DNA, and they said, you're not who you think you are, and your DNA is actually very, very special. Royal, some people even say. We have a mixture of a lot of really phenomenal genetics, and we have a lot of potential. Right now, scientists say that 90 to 95% of our DNA is junk DNA. It's dormant. It doesn't appear to be doing anything. So they literally call it junk. The ETs taught me, and now humanity is starting to discover that this isn't junk DNA. It's just dormant and it needs to be turned on. So as this DNA turns on, which is what the benevolent ETs worked with me on, activating this DNA, I began developing psychic gifts and abilities. My consciousness expanded. I began to tap into my inner wisdom, as well as healing gifts and abilities. Like Jesus, he was very, very activated. His DNA was activated. He had the ability to heal people. So
Okay.
Jesus would be an example. So eventually, we should through our evolution, all be like Jesus, being able to heal people, and all of that. So one of my major gifts is being able to see vision. So I meditate and I can tell people their star origins,
Okay.
their incarnations before this, and just whatever else. I can see their guides, angels, extraterrestrials, and just kind of help them figure that out, and help out discovering their life purpose.
That's pretty wild. Let me throw up some of these photos you sent because I think they're pretty incredible. This one,
Yeah. So this is at a park with the lake. I used to love going there. I started going there every day to make contact during sunset. So I would set up my camera, and you can see I set up my camera on a time lapse where it's taking pictures over and over. And then I asked them to appear, and I walked in front over to that bench. And you can see to the right, there are
Mhm.
two black triangles. And if you can zoom in on that, that appeared just for it. That was the only photo it appeared in. So it was there just for a second and then disappeared. So it looks like two like black triangles or two ships, and it looks like there's a tear or a portal opening. Very fascinating.
Yes, it is. That's pretty interesting. And
Yeah.
you sent me one of you meditating.
Yeah. So there's me meditating and calling them in basically. And you can see a little speck over there. They appeared in 3 photos. This is just the one that I sent you. But if you want to go to the zoomed in, there it is up close. There's the ship.
And what do you think I'm looking at? The front, the back? That almost looks like an engine in the back, but I
I
don't know if
think
they use engines.
I think it is. I think it is the front. But that orange, it looks almost like an orange window or something. I've never seen anything like that. Uh,
Okay.
Very interesting. In each photo, it looked different. So I do believe it was like morphing and changing as it was entering into our dimension.
Okay. And then there was one more video you sent, which I thought was incredible. Can you set that up for us? It
Yeah.
was something coming out of the clouds.
Yeah. So a lot of the time, whenever I began initiating contact with them, and like I said, I would take my camera out every single day and make contact with them. Sometimes they would appear as ships. Sometimes they would appear as orbs. And I've actually caught orbs that look like a person. You know, we have
Okay.
that light being photos, so we can look at that in a second too.
Right.
Um, but so I would film, and then suddenly I would feel just this amazing feeling. Like I could tell that they were there, and
Mhm.
I could feel my understanding beginning to expand. Like I just
Okay.
was more connected with everything, and I felt immense love. So that's what these benevolent beings feel like. You'll feel just immense love. It's a beautiful, amazing
Mhm.
feeling. And while I was recording, I caught this orb that a bunch of orbs, and then a second orb appears that looks, I call it the Rubik's Cube orb because it's
Right.
changing all shapes and directions. So that was a cool one. Yeah.
Let's see what it that just gets me. I see triangles, squares. It's multiple different orbs. What is that, do you think? Is that a ship or is that there?
I mean, it definitely could be. It could be their technology, and it goes against our laws of physics.
Mm,
It's incredible. So some of the orbs that I've caught, even though they were small orbs, you could
mhm.
see a silhouette of a being. So I think they can project themselves. They could even project. So a lot of sightings happen as like an orb coming
Right.
in for UFOs. I believe they can project their consciousness and project themselves. So that could be a whole ship just projected into a small orb,
Okay.
is my understanding.
So do they use the ships to come over to this dimension or can they do that on their own?
That's a good question. I believe mostly the ships, but some of them may be able to travel. There's something called a Merkaba, which is known as the chariot of ascension in our light body. It goes around us like a upside down pyramid and right side up pyramid.
Okay.
And that can start moving really fast, and that looks like an orb. And I believe some of them can travel that way.
That's wild. That's just an incredible. The videos you've sent are amazing, and I know you've got more. But you sent me this one, which, and I'm sorry to sound crude, but looks like the transporter in Star Trek. So tell me the story of this one.
Yeah, so this I was over at my ex-boyfriend's house at the time, actually, and this was a room. I used to teach nutrition and cooking classes, so I was had an old kind of classroom set up down there where I was teaching, and I went down and walked into that room just for memory's sake. And at the time, I was meditating a lot. I could feel them whenever they were around, and so I felt that I wasn't alone, and I snapped this photo with my phone, and I didn't realize until afterwards that I caught this. At first, I thought it was one being of light starting to come in, but then if you look closely, you can see it looks like there's a group of beings, and you can see some arms and legs. So I think they were projecting themselves into that dimension.
Okay.
And with what I discovered through making contact, being a photographer, a lot of these things are eye spectrum, are visible. The light that we can see is very, very, we can only see this much light compared to the whole spectrum. So a lot of the time I would use the camera because it can pick up more light to be able to see them. So they can be right in front of you. You may be able to feel them, but you may not be able to see them. Same with orbs, like with hauntings. You take a picture and all of these orbs appear. It's very, very similar.
Okay. And then you actually sent me a drawing. Did you do this drawing or?
No, I didn't.
Okay. But this is somebody you have dealt with.
Yeah. So this is the first being that I ever saw. I had gone out with a friend to initiate contact, and a golden orb appeared, and my friend witnessed this also. It started moving around, and my friend suggested, he was skilled in meditation and knew more about spirituality. He suggested that we close our eyes. And so I closed my eyes, and I was sent a vision of the inhabitants of this orb. And it was a woman with light blue skin and no hair. And she had a silver gray space suit on, skin tight suit. And then there were about 5 crew members standing behind her, also with light blue skin, and I didn't see their faces, but assuming no hair as well. So yeah, I later found out that she was from the Lyra constellation, and that her name was Talia, and she was my main ET contact for a while after that. That's who started to teach me about kind of our universe, how the dimensions work, how frequency works, how to communicate and make contact, how to increase your psychic abilities, our history, what a starseed was, and how there's a lot of starseeds on Earth right now, which are people who come from another planet, and they're here to assist the Earth right now with shifting, getting rid of the corruption and shifting into a peaceful place, becoming more advanced. We'll have free energy. We'll have peace on Earth. We'll have abundance for everybody. That's part of what these beings are here to teach us and to help us do. So yeah, that was Talia. I've seen other types of beings too. Nordic beings with long blonde hair. They look very, very human. And many different other types of beings too.
And what do we have to do to accelerate or get this going before we're in way too deep?
Yeah. Well, self-reflection and was a big part for me. Meditation was a big part for me. Understanding that we are all one. We all come from the same source. We're just humans we're spiritual beings having a human experience right now. We've had other lifetimes, and we will have more lifetimes after this. So understanding that, and that we are all connected, becoming heart-centered and heart-focused, helping each other, but also standing up for what's right and not allowing the powers that be to control us. So we really have to stand up for ourselves right now. We have to get rid of all the corruption and expose all of the corruption. So that's happening.
Is that
process.
happening elsewhere besides the United States? Because of course we don't know news from some countries, but I know in ours just lost the head of speaker of the House, and people are noticing these people are coming in poor and leaving rich.
Yeah.
So things are changing. I absolutely agree, but is it happening everywhere?
Maybe not necessarily everywhere, but I think a lot of other places, because there's even, like Canada, for example, they were having the truckers having those protests, things like that. I know people are speaking up about Canada. And probably other places too. And there's people who know about this this federation of extraterrestrials.
Yeah, I've heard that before from other contactees. So,
well, even government people have talked about this, the different ET races. Paul Hellyer was one of them from Canada.
I've heard of him, yeah.
And then there was another one. It might have been in Israel or some Middle Eastern country, mentioned the Galactic Federation and said that Donald Trump knew that they existed, and the United States knew that they existed.
Okay.
He publicly said this. So I do believe there are certain countries that know.
You think Ronald Reagan had some clue of this? Because he talked a lot about us joining together if there was a alien invasion or if aliens appeared.
I do believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lily, if you had one quick message, we're down to about our last 5 minutes here, but would you have one quick message for people? What would it be?
Yeah, I would say, so we talked about like the negative. I don't want anybody to be fearful. There's many benevolent beings who are watching out for us right now. And so the negative ones are very, very small, and they're out of the picture. We just have to do our duty on Earth by sharing this information, helping people to understand that there is more to who we are. And if you feel called to the stars, also, you may, if you ever looked up at the sky and thought, this doesn't feel like home, or if you ever was a black sheep, you didn't feel right on Earth, you most likely are from another place.
Okay.
So there are a lot of starseeds, and I'd invite you to look into that topic more. And as a starseed, each one of you has a star family, which are beings that have known you for a long time, that are looking out for you and watching over you. And I'd also say, just hang on. It's really messy right now, but it's messy on Earth because it needs to be, so that people can expose what's truly happening.
Well, honestly, the message you brought that there won't be nuclear war is comforting very much, especially coming from them. They will, I assume, help prevent it if it does head that way. Yeah. What if people want to find out if they are starseed? How do they find that out?
Yeah, you can. Well, I do star origins readings, but you can also discover that on your own. I would maybe ask the universe, communicate with the universe, and ask them to show you in looking into the different types. So online, you can find different types of starseeds, popular ones, Pleiadians, Lyrans, Sirians. So I would look into that a little bit, do some research on it, and just feel whatever calls to you, whatever feels like home. So you can find out intuitively, or you can see a psychic who is familiar with the starseed topic.
Do you know people? Can they contact you through your website to ask if you can direct them somewhere?
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Okay. And that's correct. LilyNovaSpaceArt.com.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
And I'd also like to add, I have a YouTube channel where I go live every Sunday, and we do different meditations and chat. So you could also come onto my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of content on making content and making contact and star seeds and all of that.
And what is that YouTube channel?
Lily Nova Starseed.
So if they get onto YouTube and hit that, Lily Nova Starseed,
yep,
that'll bring it to you. And is there, I assume you have old ones on there they can watch and kind of catch up a little bit.
Yeah, I've got tons of messages. I've got tons of meditations, messages, and in different. If you go to my live tab, you'll you might want to scroll down a bit, but I have the different star races and yeah, just I would skim through my playlists and you'll find stuff. Yeah.
All right. This is incredible. Lily Nova, and it's lilynovaspaceart.com. And I still love the photographs. I wish I could do that. Obviously, I have to pick up some more equipment. But you've been an incredible guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I appreciate you coming in. Again, I know it was short notice, but thanks for coming in and sharing this. And I sure hope you're right on this, because things are not looking good for mankind at the moment.
Yeah, no, I have faith. We have to. And they've shown me the next few years are going to be pretty intense, but enlightening. And they've shown me by 2030s, we'll have a totally different civilization. We're in the thick of it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I would have been 70. Wow. All right. Well, thanks again and take care. I'd love to get you back. And if you have some more information or they give you some new information you want to share, please get hold of me. We'll get you back on here.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
everybody
Lily.
enjoys this.
Take care now.
Bye.
What gets me on this is that it all blends into what, like I said, Clifford Stone said, some of the messages Whitley Strieber has told us, and more. I can't even think of all the names. Dulce, all the people that we read about, the people who were on Coast to Coast AM for Art Bell for so many years, all of these folks had similar, not quite the same, but similar stories, a federation of benevolence. The evil ones were in cahoots with whoever. I got to wonder about it. We've heard it a lot, so it's something to consider. And I want you all to consider becoming members of Onyx Network. Again, to put your name down, go to onyxnetwork.com, drop down a little bit, free membership. And the free membership gets you onto our website. It goes on to the blog, the emails, the newsletter, and every month you get a new copy emailed to you of the magazine, Onyx Magazine. So you're missing out a lot. You need to jump on that. Maybe we can get Lily to come back and do an article on that, because I thought that was intriguing. But for now, I want you all to stay safe. I want you to stay faithful, and above all, stay spooked. Good night.